Hello, welcome back. Are you still looking for ways to prioritize that task list and help you get the most important work done? I've gotcha. Today, we're going to start by talking about the deadline prioritization method. And that should be pretty familiar to you because lots of people use that method to prioritize their work. Then I'm going to show you a slightly different take on that technique that will allow you to make progress on those deadlines that are a bit further out using your kitchen to prioritize. We've talked about a few other prioritization methods, and you can see some of those in the playlist above. Let's jump into the deadline order prioritization method. In this case, brain dump all of your tasks and projects and put them onto your calendar based on the deadline for when you need to complete it, submit it, or report your progress on it. Then get started based on the very next upcoming deadline. While this can work if most of your tasks take just a few minutes to a few hours to complete, if you're like most faculty that I know, you are constantly working on projects that may take hours, weeks, and sometimes months or years to complete. Daily tasks shouldn't include huge amorphous tasks, write the article, because that can't be completed in just one day. You know you need to work on the article consistently over time, not just the day before these journal special issue deadline, and that's where today's technique comes in. First, hang with me while I tell you a quick story, okay? Do you like to cook? I'm not really much of a cook, but even with my limited cooking experience and knowledge, I realized that I have different tools to get different jobs done. And in the kitchen, I have a favorite burner. Doesn't everyone? I know the types of foods that I can quickly prepare in my microwave and have my place at the table all cleaned up within 15 minutes. I know if I'm cooking food that requires a stovetop, I'm probably going to use that go-to front burner, unless that food needs some sort of special treatment. So I will select my burner based on what my food needs for me to prepare it well. My favorite burner is that front right one. When I go to the stove, that's right where I usually set things, but it's not always the best place. This is the burner I use for foods that take some watching, stirring, adding ingredients occasionally. That back burner right behind it is tiny and it's only good for simmering. So this is for things that I don't have to do much to. Once I put the lid on, it just sits there until the timer goes off. Then I just need to remove it from the burner and add a few final touches. Finally, I cook large pots that don't need a whole lot of attention on my back left burner, because that's where I can fit a big pot. Because it doesn't need constant stirring, then I'm not gonna have to constantly be reaching over something else that's hot and messy on that front burner. What does all this kitchen talk have to do with your faculty work life? Let's take a few examples. I'll use some of my own work to show you how I might apply this concept, and then I'll ask you some questions on how you might prioritize your tasks. Most of us have grading at regular intervals. When it comes up, we can break it down into chunks. For example, I don't put on my list grade all of test 1 because that would take too much time and feel overwhelming. I design these chunks to take me about 30 minutes to 1 hour to complete. So these are what I consider microwave meals. I can zap through that specific task and be done with it. I may have to schedule them at regular intervals, maybe even 3 to 6 sessions a week or more in order to get everyone's feedback to them in a reasonable amount of time. But when I sit down to do it, it's a very clear, specific thing. I can be very focused and knock it out when it comes up. I don't need to spend a lot of time thinking about these type of tasks outside of when it's in the microwave. The microwave is also a place I can visualize those one-off meetings or very self-contained committees. For example, get it in, get it done, document it. That's it. Some examples of this are sabbatical committee. It was 1 meeting a year. We read their applications, wrote up recommendations, and then went on about our year. Another example, different awards committees. Review materials, show up, discuss them, cast a vote, put it on your I did that list. Yay, money and prestige for other people with little work and time commitment for me. Again, these are microwave tasks. Let's move on to my small back right burner. This is for things that don't need much attention at all, as I mentioned. Basically, I have to make sure that they don't burn, so I can't forget them forever. In my world, these projects include things like articles, grant proposals, and reports that I have already submitted and I'm awaiting a decision or a follow-up about. So for example, an article that I have submitted may come back as needing a revision and a resubmission. So I would move it to a different burner, and then when I resubmitted it, I'll put it back on that back simmer burner. Grant projects, I will get notice of if the grant was approved or not. If not, I might move it quietly to the recycling bin and use as many pieces as possible into other projects. And if it is approved, it'll probably move to that favorite front burner so that I can constantly be keeping track, keeping watch, stirring, adding ingredients, and so forth. Research projects are not something I'm putting on that back simmer burner. These need frequent attention in order to make progress and keep moving. And I know this because it's easy to make sure you're doing all the things for your classes, but when your publications are what you really need for promotion and tenure in most cases, right? So research projects are on that front big burner that I love because I always need to be doing something to move them forward. Stir, add seasonings, dip some out, and move it to that messy front burner. So that messy front burner is the one where when you're writing up the results for an article or you are preparing for a presentation, you're really in the thick of it and you need to be working quickly to get that work done. We don't want a lot of things there because that makes a big mess in your kitchen. After it's been in the front messy burner and getting full attention and work, after something is submitted, then it goes to that simmer burner. Another thing that goes on my front burner, in addition to research project, is the weekly care and keeping of my classes. I don't put grading into this category because this front burner that I love is more intentional with planning and care than just grade the item and check it off the list. For example, each time I teach a class session, I take a pulse. How are things? What seems to be their challenges and their struggle. I create weekly lesson plans based on what we've accomplished so far and what the students have enjoyed doing as their prep work and in class. This is not a set it and forget it activity, although I do systemize as many parts as possible. Now let's talk about that back left burner. It can take really large pots. It's similar to having a crock pot meal where you throw in the ingredients and after a while something magical happens and you can sit down and eat a full meal. Okay, the metaphor may be falling apart right here because nothing in academia feels that easy. However, that back burner for me represents longer term commitments or committees. Some committees that I would put here include things like the Curriculum Coordinating Committee, General Education Committee, Faculty Senate, Equity Advocates. I also picture in this big pot the journals that I'm a reviewer for. Occasionally I have work that needs to be done or meetings that need to be attended from these big pot types of activities that are just back there on that burner keeping warm, but I don't need to constantly be working on them and focusing. When it comes up, I do it, and when it's not time for a meeting or something, it's just sitting back there ready for me to do the next thing when it comes up. I realize that as a faculty member, you probably need more than 4 burners, a microwave, and a slow cooker to do your job. In our metaphorical kitchen, each burner can have a short stack of things on top of it. So the back slow burner, where I've submitted things and I'm waiting for a response, that could have 10 or 20 things in that list. I don't have to do anything with them until they come in and need attention. In which case, if it's a revise and resubmit, I might be moving it right to that front messy burner, work hard through it, and then shoot it back to the submissions, simmer back there until I get another response. That back burner can have however many things you've submitted and they're just out there waiting for someone else to do something and you're just waiting to hear back. I don't recommend having 10 pots and pans on that front favorite burner at the same time. That's too much for anyone to manage all that stirring and fiddling and ingredients. You're going to end up with sugar in the pasta instead of salt. I might have 1 or 2 research projects in the actively working on it favorite front burner stage, and then my courses would be in this section. That's up to 5 different little pots and pans on this burner. In some cases, if I've taught a course multiple times, it might be a little bit more of a back burner, large pot type of situation where I only have to check in on it occasionally or pull bits out of the fridge and stick them in the microwave, but they were in the pot. It's fine. You understand what I'm saying. So a maximum of 5 things on this main burner, but I need to schedule them so that not all of them need attention at the exact same time. I only have 2 arms. I can't stir 4 things at once. So I'm going to need to prioritize and organize how I'm working on each of those things. And we'll talk about how to do that in just a minute. The large pot back there, I'm probably going to have 3 to 5 things on that burner, committees that I'm on, and so forth. I'll need to fit in my schedule when I'm going to work on those things so that I don't need to be checking in on them every single day. Of course, there's some times in the semester where you're going to need all the plates, all the burners, all the things. The end of the term is a really good example. You're trying to give every student feedback on their work. and they're submitting their final exams. If you're sitting on some other large committees that say, we want to finish this before the winter break, all at the end of the semester, it's a little bit like cooking Thanksgiving dinner where everything is trying to come out at once. Our goal is that not every single week of our semester feels that overwhelmed. Now let's take a look at your tasks and project lists and see if we can put them onto the right burner. And then we're going to talk about how that actually plays out in your regular week to prioritize what to work on when. Take a look at your task list and your projects. If something is a project, you're going to consider what the bite-sized chunks are that you can put in there. So if you have a pot and here's the whole project, then what are the bite-sized chunks? Those are the ingredients. What goes on your favorite burner? What's an ongoing long-term project that needs constant attention of some sort or regular interval, frequent attention? What goes on the burner that you can get messy? These are ones that you're going to get in, get it done, and then clean up the mess. Which tasks and projects would you consider your microwave tasks? Those that you can just go, okay, I'm just going to head down, get this done. It's off my list. I don't have to think about it anymore. What goes into that back stock pot, the big pot that's a regular commitment. It comes at intervals, but you don't need frequent checking in or working between the times when it comes up. So you don't have to go seeking and checking on it. Unlike your favorite burner where you will be taking the initiative to do something with it. These large stock pots, it's like, oh, it's kind of boiling over back there. Do a quick stir, adjust the lid, we're good to go. So those kind of things, like it requests attention, it calls for a meeting, and send them an email that says review these documents and so forth. Whereas those front burner projects are the ones that you actively have to engage with. So what goes in your back stock pot? You're probably thinking, okay, great. I've assigned each of my tasks and projects into a specific burner or cooker. And now what? Well, here's where the rubber meets the road, or the utensils meet the pots. I don't know. But this is where you get to figure out how to manage all of those things. You'll probably need to complete some microwave meals each week, maybe even daily. Look for those little blocks of time on your schedule where you might otherwise just sit scrolling your phone or sit there wondering, what should I be working on? And everything feels too big to work on. You only have 20 minutes before your next meeting. What are you going to do? Find those little chunks of time and then have a list of microwave tasks ready so that you can just knock them out as you go. When do those little bits of time show up for you? Where could you intentionally slot them in your day? And then throughout the next week or two, take note of when those times happen and what microwave tasks you could put in there. For the tasks that you have in that front burner, what feels like the right cadence of work to check in and make progress on those? You know they need regular attention, but not everything needs constant attention. Not everything is gravy, so not everything needs constant stirring the whole entire time. Which of those pans on that front right burner can you check in just once a week? What about the things that might need daily check-ins? What do you really need to be making progress on every single day? Even if the deadline is 6 months from now, you know I need to be doing this every day if I'm going to hit that deadline. What things could you maybe come back to just 2 or 3 times a week? You've gotten kind of the interval of how often you're going to need to check in on each of those. So how are you going to fit those time slots into your calendar so that you can work on each of them without any one day feeling super overwhelming? For example, if I teach Monday, Wednesday, Friday, I'm going to try and block all of my course tasks on those specific days. Back to this front messy burner, it's not always going to be used. And I try to only have one project on there at a time. I might do a 1 or 2 week focused work session. Some people call that a sprint. It might be drafting an article or a book proposal, redesigning a course. This work is going to rotate. We're only going to have one thing that we're really focusing hard on at that time for just a week or 2 at a time. And then we will rotate something else to that front burner. I often plan general ideas of what's going to go here throughout a semester. Then as each week comes up during my weekly review, I decide what's really going to get that front messy burner spot. What type of work do you have that you already know, I'm going to need to move some of those to the front messy burner at some point? As you extend this metaphor, what else comes to your mind about what parts of your kitchen feel important for you and how you need to manage your work? This was kind of a lot. The most important thing to take away from this prioritization method is that not all projects need the same level of effort and attention to detail at the same time. Some need daily attention, and other projects can sit boiling in the background for a really long time while being ignored, basically. If you're just cooking a quick lunch for yourself, you may not need every appliance in your kitchen, and you for sure don't need to dirty all those dishes. The key is to make time for each type of cooking and each meal in your plans, and to not have every week feel like you're trying to get the whole thing to come together all at once. If you find that as you prioritize based on, okay, this front burner project. I need to keep working on it consistently. It's due in 6 months, but I need to keep making progress and I need to fit that in my schedule. I have these other commitments that come up, review journal articles. I don't have a deadline until I get the request and then I know what the deadline is. And I get to decide, is this a deadline I'm going to accept? Is this something I can take on my plate right now? Or do I just need to say, no thanks, contact me next time? If you're trying to fit these pieces into your schedule and you're thinking, wait a minute, this is not fitting in my schedule, there's too much here, then this is the key time to consider if you have too many things that need cooking in your kitchen. You may need to take a closer look at what is most important to you, what is most important for your career goals and your value system. Digging into those things may help you see that some dish you really wanted to include in your meal plan might need to be passed off to someone else's kitchen, and that some things that you wanted to cook, maybe they're rotten and they just need to go in the trash, or maybe it's not the right season and you could put that avocado back in the fridge for 6 months and then take it out and use it immediately. I hope this was helpful in thinking about different ways to envision how you're going to prioritize your work and do the most important work and spend the time and energy on the projects that need it when they need it, and not trying to work on every single thing at the exact same time. If it was helpful, hit the thumbs up and subscribe so you can know when the next video is coming. And also in the comments below, let me know what you're cooking up this semester. I'm Dr. Kimberly J. Hale, Faculty Success Coach. Keep exploring what works for you.